Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we'll be talking about the spell Searing Smite. All right, there you go. All right, Sam, you're famously not a huge fan of smite spells. Um, well, let's get into this one. What does Searing Smite do?
All right. It's got the stupid, audience, you just need to know. I already coming into this, I hate it. It has what every other spice spell has, which is it takes a bonus action to cast, and it has a concentration requirement. So you have to concentrate on the spell, which means you can't concentrate on anything else, which is lame. Next time you hit a creature with a melee weapon within the minute of casting it, which means like probably the same turn, you do a bonus D6 fire damage and cause it to ignite in flames. At the start of each of its turns, until you lose concentration or the spell ends, the target makes a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, it takes a D6 fire damage. On a successful save, the spell ends. Another creature can spend an action to put it out. It won't because it's only a D6 fire damage. That's not worth an action for it. Additionally, if it goes like underwater or rolls around in dirt or something else to put the flames out, the fire goes out. And then you can upcast it to do a bonus D6 on the initial damage. It does not do a extra but D6 on the subsequent damage. It's just initial extra damage goes up by a D6 if you upcast it as well. So if you use a second level slot, you do 2d6 damage and still 1d6 persistent burn.
That part's a little lame. I'll grant you that.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with most of the smite spells. There's a feature the paladins get called Divine Smite, and that does, for no spell concentration, for no bonus actions, if you hit something, you can spend a spell slot to do 2d8 radiant damage. For this to do more damage, like a meaningfully amount more damage, 3d6 damage is, I guess, enough extra damage. You have to hit them with the attack, take the d6 fire damage, and then they have to fail 2 subsequent Constitution saving throws to take the 2d6 fire damage, assuming it's not raining, assuming someone doesn't find it worth it to snuff them out, which if someone spends an action to put them out, it's worth it, where if they don't, it's definitely not. You need to wait. This is at its best 3d6 fire damage. That's the best use case scenario. Because remember, you're also a paladin, and whatever you're smiting is within 5 feet of you, and it's probably trying to hit you back, which makes concentrating on it much harder. The likelihood of this reasonably occurring is laughable. What I think is going to happen most of the time is you're going to hit them, they're going to take a d6 fire damage. About a half the time, because you don't have a particularly high charisma, it's probably like your second or third stat. About half the time, maybe 2/3 of the time, they take the bonus d6 fire damage once, and then it's over. And 2d6 damage is less than 2d8 damage. Sure. And you don't have to spend your concentration for the 2d8 damage. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to use the spell slot. You don't have to know if you hit or not, which is great. Because if you cast Searing Smite to go try and finish something off or ignite something early in a fight and you miss, and then the thing you're going to hit dies, or if the encounter ends early, you're just sitting around with a flaming blade that doesn't do anything. That doesn't feel great, because you wasted a spell slot. Whereas if you Divine Smited, you would have never wasted the spell slot because you don't have to choose until you know you hit. Divine Smite's great because you can choose I crit here, great. Divine Smite's coming into it too for an extra 48 damage as opposed to 2d8 damage. It's a huge upside of Divine Smite. Divine Smite is way more flexible than this. It does more damage than this. Searing Smite is just, I have run players running Searing Smite before. I've seen it cast probably 24 times. I have seen it do more than 2d6 damage less than a handful, and I have seen it do more than 3d6 damage once, and it did 46 damage.
Yeah, I want to like this one.
Yeah, me too. But it's bad.
Yeah, I hope they improve smites, because you're not wrong. They're not great when Divine Smite's right there, ready to be used. But I like the different effects, though.
Agreed. And I think because this is an opportunity cost, right? You have to prepare this out of a relatively small list. You are a half caster, so you could prepare basically half as many as the full casters do. So you're taking this in lieu of some other potential spell, hypothetically, right? Mm-hmm. I think that merits it doing more than the spell, the thing that you don't have to prepare, the thing that you can fall back on. You can always smite regardless, but you could take prepared smites that do better things. I think that is a better dynamic than where it currently is, which is you could do the better thing, or you could prepare the worst thing. And that isn't great. A lot needs to change about the smites. I think the game really desperately needs to re-examine concentration. and remove concentration from a lot of effects and make them have different parameters. So if Searing Smite, for example, was just as a bonus action, the next time within a minute you hit, it does the d6 fire damage for a minute, the spell functionally stays the same. The usability goes slightly upwards, at least, because then you getting hit won't end the effect. If you're fighting a 200 hit point creature, it might just burn for 8 rounds, and that is better than a Divine Smite if it burns for 8 rounds. The fact that your concentration can break and the spell ends means whatever niche utility it had in high rolling bunch of people failing Constitution saving throws goes out the window whenever you're taking damage and have to maintain those make those checks as well. So much goes into this that makes it bad. A lot of like the ranger spells and the paladin spells that are concentration for your next weapon attack, they have no business being concentration. They make other builds around them that involve things like Hunter's Mark, that like even Vengeance Paladins get access to Hunter's Mark. You can't be doing these two things sequentially. If you have Hunter's Mark on your sheet, if you have another concentration spell, like if you want to I don't think you get Spiritual Weapon, but some other powerful concentration effect, you can't use them while you're trying to use the other smites. So if your options are use the base Divine Smite, that is probably better anyway, or not take the concentration spell, you're going to use the base Divine Smite every time. And it makes these spells basically uncastable.
All right, here's a situation. You're a ranged paladin. Now,
Bao, I have bad news for you. I'd like you to reread the first 7 words of this spell.
Ah, nuts. I just looked at it and it totally skipped my mind. All right.
Yeah, I've been there a bunch of times. Yeah, for those at home, this is a melee weapon attack requirement. You have to hit with a melee weapon with this.
All right. Well, all right. That's scenario aside. That would be cool, though.
Agreed.
But yeah, because then you can keep firing. You're part of the fight. You're not like constantly risking your concentration. But all right, still.
I think it'd be cool if you removed the melee component and you removed the concentration component. Wouldn't it be neat to be able to like light it on fire, light it on fire, light it on fire? That seems cool, right?
Yeah, that might be a little too far in the opposite direction. I don't know.
The damage is not good.
All right, that goes back to what you said before. Yeah, the damage isn't great, and it's not worth it for the creature or one of its buddies to take the time to put it out. So that's kind of, I kind of see that as a win-win scenario for you, the caster of the spell. You hit somebody, they're searing smited, and like, so the only way they're gonna get rid of this is by hitting you.
No, they also can just end. They make the save at the end of each of their turns, and if they ever pass the save, the spell's over.
All right, wait a second. Failed save, yada yada, unsuccessful save.
At the start of each of its turns, it makes a Constitution saving throw. If it passes the saving throw, the spell is over.
Of each of its turns. All right. I thought if it failed that first one, then it kept going.
That would also make a lot of sense, but it's not the case.
All right. Well, I'm running out of arguments here.
This one is bad, Bob. This one is real bad.
Oh, man. All right. Well, man, I got nothing else up my sleeves.
You tried your hardest. You're like, well, if you're ranged, this could be pretty. Oh, that doesn't work. And if it fails the first, oh wait, no, that doesn't work. And it just cuts you down to the kneecaps every time. You're like, this could be a neat effect. It's like, no. We don't want it to be too powerful. We can't let 2d6 damage run away with the game or anything. Burning Hands does 3d6 damage to 12 creatures. This can't do 46 to 1. Unthinkably powerful.
Yeah, well, all right. So if you made the mistake of taking this in the first place, and you happen upon creatures that you know have terrible constitution scores
and vulnerability to fire damage, let's match that in there.
All right, yeah, sure.
Still are better off just smiting otherwise.
Then this could be worth it.
Sure. If we're against the 0 constitution twiglings, which are made of flammable materials that are designed like to be burned at that are like super dry wood creatures, yeah, maybe Searing Smite's that. Otherwise, you could not prepare it and use Divine Smite instead and have a way better time and be able to cast like utility spells. That's what Paladins end up doing, is you take a bunch of utility spells that you have prepared and you sink all your slots on Divine Smite in combat.
What about all right, is this from an older edition, or do undead like have like 0 constitution because they're dead? Or
pretty sure undead have pretty baller constitutions in this edition.
All right, well, never mind then.
Yeah, plus if it's undead, it takes bonus damage from regular Divine Smite. That's also text on Divine Smite, is it does bonus damage if it's undead or fiend, and this doesn't have that text either. So there's more situational uses where Divine Smite is even better than this.
All right, I'm all tapped out.
You put up a valiant fight. You really
Thank
wanted
you, thank
to
you.
defend this guy.
I did.
Yeah, it's just utter trash. This is a 1. Garbage.
This
Don't
is a
take this
1.
spell.
All right. I'm going to give it a 2. Commenters, justify that. All right. Well, I guess that's that. That was Searing Smite, everyone. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. We will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.